Life doesn't get easier. You just stop lying to yourself. And when that happens, you stop going in circles. You stop chasing ghosts. You stop fighting battles that no longer belong to you. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." But let me ask you, what if the pain you're dragging is a story that's already ended? What if the reason you're stuck isn't because you're weak, but because a cycle is dead, and you won't bury the corpse? Most people don't recognize when a chapter has closed. They keep showing up to a life that doesn't exist anymore. They keep investing in people who've already left them in silence. But not you. You're not here to be blind. You're here to become unstoppable. Because there comes a moment where the war outside is nothing compared to the one inside, and the ones who win are the ones who know when to walk away and never look back. So listen carefully. These are the 6 brutal, undeniable signs that you have come to close a cycle, and if you ignore them, you'll bleed in silence for a lifetime. The first sign: you no longer seek validation from the people who once controlled you. This is the mark of a spiritual warrior. Because the ego feeds on attention, and when someone breaks you, betrays you, or ghosts you, your first instinct is to prove your worth. You want them to see you winning. You want them to regret it. But then something snaps. You wake up one morning and the fire is gone. Not because you gave up, but because the need to be seen by them feels like begging in chains. You realize their opinion was never the prize. Your freedom was. You've burned your last bridge. And you finally feel warm. Do you understand the power in that? To live with your back to the past? That's not healing. That's evolution. You've outgrown the circus, and the clowns no longer amuse you. Let me take you into the second sign, and this one will shake your soul. You begin to mourn people who are still alive. It's the strangest, most soul-splitting sensation. You walk through your day with a quiet ache, not because someone died, but because something died. A connection, a belief, a false identity. You stop trying to fix things. You stop trying to explain yourself. You stop hoping they'll understand you, because deep down, you already know. They were never built to walk the path you're on now. You remember the memories, the laughter, the late-night conversations that once felt eternal. But now they feel like echoes in a house you've moved out of. This grief, it doesn't come with funerals. It doesn't come with sympathy. But it's real. Carl Jung called this the withdrawing of projections. You no longer see what you want to see in people. You see them for what they are. And when that illusion dies, so does your attachment. That's the moment the cycle cracks open. That's the moment the cord breaks. And here's the forbidden truth they never told you: the death of a cycle always feels like you're the villain. Because you stop calling. You stop showing up. You stop apologizing for being different, for growing, for needing something deeper than surface talk and empty promises. And suddenly, you're cold. You're arrogant. You changed. Damn right you did. You're not here to entertain history. You're here to write your future. But beware, when you come this close to closing a cycle, the devil will send you a test. And that test will come in the form of a second chance. That text from the ex, that apology from the narcissist. That unexpected opportunity that smells like the past you promised you'd never return to. You'll feel the tug in your gut. But listen to me. Cycles don't return to offer closure. They return to see if you're still stupid enough to walk back into the fire. And if you say yes, you restart the curse with your own hands. Now pause for a moment. Breathe. Feel what's rising in you. That tightness in your chest? That's the old identity dying. You're no longer a slave to who you used to be. You're no longer the version of you who tolerated chaos just to feel loved. You've stepped out of the fog. And now you see the battlefield for what it really is. This is no longer about them. This is about reclaiming your power. Because cycles don't close when time passes. They close when the soul decides, I'm done bleeding for this. You will face storms. But when your mind becomes your fortress, the storm stops being the threat. It becomes your sharpening ground. Now let's go deeper. The third sign that you've come to close a cycle: you stop arguing with reality. You no longer need a reason for why someone hurt you. You no longer sit up at night overanalyzing text messages, wondering if it was your fault. No more theories. No more excuses. No more rewriting their story in your head just to make the betrayal less brutal. You don't need their apology. You don't need to understand. You just need to leave. See, here's the forbidden truth they never wanted you to learn. The mind is addicted to closure, but the soul craves freedom. And sometimes, you only get one. People who aren't ready to be honest will keep you imprisoned in cycles that feed off confusion. They'll give you just enough to keep you hopeful, but never enough to bring peace. But you're waking up now. You've stopped bargaining. You've stopped bending. You've put the sword down, not in surrender, but because you finally understand. Some battles are won by walking away, not by spilling more blood. That is the death of fantasy. That is the beginning of clarity. And clarity hurts like hell at first. Because when you see the truth, you can't unsee it. The mask falls. The charm fades. The pattern repeats. And suddenly, everything makes sense. The lies, the hot and cold games, the accidental cruelty. It was never about you. It was about control. And now you're free. But freedom has a price. And the fourth sign that you've come to close a cycle. You begin to feel completely alone, yet strangely at peace. It's the paradox that breaks most people. Because silence used to feel like rejection. Now it feels like resurrection. You used to crave company just to escape your thoughts. Now you sit with them, face them, conquer them. You've stopped chasing people who disappear. You've stopped explaining your worth. You've stopped begging for a place at tables that serve you nothing but spiritual starvation. And that's where something dark but beautiful happens. Your loneliness turns into power. You start building routines. You read. You train. You learn. You observe. Your solitude sharpens you like a blade. You become more selective with your energy. More dangerous in your calm. That's when people start saying you're different. Something changed. You're not like you used to be. They're right. You're not needy. You're not desperate. You're not trapped in emotional loops begging for validation. You've stepped into what Jung called individuation, the sacred, often terrifying path where you no longer live for others' approval. You become whole within yourself. But let me warn you, the most powerful transformation comes just before the final snap. And it's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's brutal. It's internal. You sit across from someone who once shattered you, and you feel nothing. Not rage, not pain, not longing, just silence. And in that moment, you realize something profound. You never needed revenge. You just needed healing. You needed to become so unrecognizable to your old self that they couldn't manipulate you even if they tried. That's the rebirth. That's the moment you no longer look back because what's behind you no longer has a grip. Let me bring you into a real-world example. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, faced betrayal, war, the death of his children, and endless political sabotage. But what did he write? The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He didn't escape his pain. He used it. He didn't dwell on who wronged him. He elevated beyond them. That's the secret of every true warrior. You don't waste your rage on battles already lost. You sharpen your discipline for the ones still ahead. And if you're watching this now, feeling that strange detachment from the people you used to die for, you're not broken. You're not bitter. You're finally awakening. Because here's the truth no one wants to hear. Peace isn't found in perfect circumstances. It's found in perfect detachment. When you can love someone and still let them go. When you can walk through fire and not flinch. When you can lose what you thought was everything, and still rise with purpose in your step and steel in your soul. You've stopped asking the world to save you. You've become your own savior. That is what it means to close a cycle. You don't slam the door. You simply stop knocking. You've already buried pieces of yourself they never even saw. You've walked away from the fire you once called home. Now, it's time to finish what you started. The fifth sign that you've truly come to close a cycle. You no longer react. You respond, if you even respond at all. You stop being baited into arguments. You stop defending yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop explaining your silence, your growth, your peace. You don't retaliate. You observe. You don't explode. You exit. Because here's the secret carved in scars and solitude. When you evolve, chaos becomes boring. The drama that once electrified you, dead. The emotional roller coasters you mistook for love, silent. You no longer confuse intensity for intimacy. You no longer think someone needs to break you in order to see you. You've matured. But not in the soft, sentimental way they teach you in healing quotes. You've matured in war. You've sat across from your demons and learned their names. You've stood in the ruins of your own choices and built your character brick by brick. And now, you carry a calm that terrifies the weak. Because your peace is not passive. It's earned. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." But you didn't avoid it. You walked into it. And that's why they fear you now. Because they still run from their reflection, while you've become yours. This is when the transformation becomes dangerous. You stop performing. You stop pretending. You no longer smile to keep the peace. Your yes has weight. Your no becomes non-negotiable. This is the moment you don't just leave people behind, you leave identities. The wounded version of you that needed approval, dead. The version that couldn't sleep without closure, gone. The one who confused chaos for love, buried. And what rises in its place isn't a softer version of you. It's a sharper one. Here's the sixth and final sign that you've come to close a cycle. You stop trying to make the old world care about your new self. You realize not everyone is meant to witness your rebirth. Some were only written into your story to be the storm that woke you up. So you stop looking over your shoulder. You stop explaining your absence. You stop offering updates to people who never truly listened anyway. And that silence? It becomes your rebellion. It becomes your power. It becomes your boundary. You're no longer haunted by the opinions of those who lost access to you. Because here's the forbidden truth. The people who guilt trip you for walking away were only loyal to your dysfunction. The moment you grew, the moment you enforced standards, they vanished. Let them. They were never with you. They were with the version of you that tolerated disrespect in exchange for belonging. But now you understand. Belonging that costs your soul is just slavery in disguise. So you walk alone. Not because you're bitter, but because you're finally loyal to your future. That's when something holy begins to rise in you. A quiet knowing. A sacred rage. A stillness that doesn't flinch. You've entered a place no one can touch. Not because you're cold, but because you've been forged in fire. Let me remind you what Marcus Aurelius wrote while leading an empire at war. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And that is what you've become. You're no longer debating your worth. You're living it. You're no longer seeking permission to start again. You've already lit the match. You've stopped bleeding in places that never deserved your wounds. And now, you're becoming dangerous. Not because you harm, but because you won't be harmed again. You've become unreachable to your past. And those who try to pull you back, they no longer find the open, eager version of you waiting to be chosen. They find stone. They find silence. They find a fortress. Because the person you were, that version died in the fire. And what remains? A soul that cannot be bought. A mind that cannot be bent. A spirit that doesn't flinch. You've outgrown the cycle. And now you're the threat. You've come this far. Now it's time to finish it. Not with closure. Not with conversation. But with fire. Because there comes a moment in every warrior's life when you don't need another reason. You just need to decide. You don't need more signs from the universe. You don't need to wait until it hurts less. The cycle already died. Now you must do what most people never have the courage to do. Bury it. And walk away without flowers. Without witnesses. Without looking back. Because this isn't about being heartless. It's about choosing your peace over their chaos. Let me ask you something. When did suffering become your default? When did you start believing that you had to earn love through sacrifice? That pain was normal. That anxiety was just part of the deal. Who taught you that? Who broke you so early that comfort became suspicious, and stability felt fake? Was it a parent who only loved you when you performed? A partner who praised your silence and punished your boundaries? A society that told you endurance is more noble than self-respect? It ends now. Not gradually, not with gentle detachment, but violently. Because the systems that taught you to stay small, to keep giving chances to people who sharpen your wounds, those systems must be dismantled. Your mind has been colonized by the idea that forgiveness means access. But let me give you the forbidden truth: you can forgive them, and never speak to them again. You can love them, and still walk away. You can grieve them, and still never return. Peace is not the absence of war, it is the presence of power, and you've earned it. If no one told you this before, let me be the first. You don't need to be loyal to the version of yourself that survived. You can let that version die. Because now, you are not surviving. You are rising. You're no longer tiptoeing through life, afraid to disappoint people who never saw your worth. You are not here to be understood by the weak. You are not here to soothe the insecure. You are not here to shrink, apologize, or beg. You are here to build. Build discipline from pain. Build peace from solitude. Build strength from every shattered belief that once kept you bound. You are the architect of your own mind now. And your past? It's just raw material, not a prison. So let this be your ritual. Right now. I in this moment. Say it out loud. I close the cycle. I reclaim my energy. I answer only to my future. That's not just a mantra. That's a mental contract. And if your old life tries to return, don't argue with it. Don't justify yourself. Just say one word: no. Because when you come back from the fire, you don't explain the smoke. You walk into the new world, alone, unbothered, unstoppable. You are the storm that ends generational curses. You are the silence that ends manipulation. You are the fire that burns through every lie ever told to keep you tame. And from this moment on, no one gets to pull you back into a chapter that ended with your awakening. So go. Step into the unknown, not with fear, but with fury. The kind of fury that only comes from betrayal, loneliness, clarity, and the sacred power of deciding, I am done. Let them wonder. Let them gossip. Let them wait for your return. They don't know that you're already gone. And to those watching, if this hit your chest like a war drum, if something in your soul screamed, yes, then you already know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. But more than that, change. Don't just consume this truth. Become it. Because your mind is your greatest fortress. And today, you just made it unbreakable.